What's the most paranormal thing that's ever happened to you? I have a strange one and not sure if it counts. I was once in a car accident in which I was T-boned by a girl not much older than I on my passenger side after she ran a stop sign when I was 18 and she was 19. For the record, it was very dark and the sign was hidden around a bend with trees in the way. Immediately after the collision, I got out of my car and it felt like I was being taken over by a higher power. The front of her car was completely totaled and I approached her driver's side door, asked if she was okay, and she was completely unresponsive. Without hesitation, I told the guy at the stop sign behind me to call 911. I pulled her out of the car and immediately started chest compressions. To make things even more strange, I said, "Come on Aaliyah, stay with us. Come on Aaliyah," with every compression before EMS arrived and took over. Never have I met this woman in my life. Never have I believed in the paranormal. Until we went to the hospital and the doctors came out smiling and thanked me for all my efforts. They then said, "Aaliyah would like to thank you too," and guided me to her room. It has forever lived with me and we actually became friends who go to the same university. I don't think I saved her life, and that it was instead her guardian angel. Really chokes me up. I'm not religious at all. Wow, I even have a lump in my throat just typing this. I'm going to text her, I think. Earlier this year, I saw a ghost in the Texas Capitol building. I was getting on an elevator and there were two people on it, a young woman in a skirt suit standing near the front and a clipboard, and an older guy with a retired cop, security guard, wannabe cowboy vibe who was standing near the back. Texas peeps will know what I mean, but think plaid shirt, jeans, big belt buckle, one step shy of the cowboy hat. I said, "Y'all going down?" The woman gave me a really confused look and said, "Yes." I punched the button. Doors opened at the next level. The woman got off. I followed her and happened to glance back. The elevator was now totally empty. And now I knew why the woman had given me such a weird look, because y'all is a plural and she thought she was the only other person on that elevator. It's weird because you don't realize, until the ghost is gone, how you didn't really see them the same way that you see other people. The only way I can think of putting it is that when you see real people, it's because light bounces off them and hits receptors in your eyes that processes those signals into an image. When you see a ghost, there isn't light bouncing off anything, because there isn't anything there, so there aren't any receptors in your eyes processing it, so it's like your mind is picking up signals some other way and overlaying them on the image processed by your eyes. The effect produced isn't one of transparency, and it's not one you'll notice in the moment if you're distracted by other things, but on reflection you can definitely realize that something is off. The Texas Capitol has a lot of ghost stories, many of which involve people who died in the building, but none of them really fit what I had experienced. I don't think the guy the first saw actually died there. I like to think he worked there as a part-time security guard or landscaper or something, and maybe he didn't have a good life at home, so that's where he chose to go after dying. There definitely was no spooky or malevolent vibe from him. You almost feel complimented that a dead person trusted you enough to reveal their presence to you. Ever since then, whenever I go to the Capitol, I try to take that elevator, but haven't seen anything else since. Edit. Here is a floor plan of the Texas Capitol. The elevator where I saw the ghost is one of the North Wing elevators, which are the only elevators that get off at every floor on the Capitol building, so they're marked on every page. There are 4 total elevators. I saw the ghost on the northwest one, going from level E1 to level E2. When I was around 12 to 14, I lived in my old house where some explainable things happened, like cups falling over and chairs moving, but there's one memory that sticks with me and gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I share a bedroom with my twin and we had bunk beds. I was the top bunk. One night I woke up around 3:30 a.m. and was trying to go back to sleep when suddenly, out of complete silence, I hear a creak from the bottom of the stairs. It was an old house and I've been living in it since I was born, so I just figured it was just it being old, but the sound slowly made its way up the stairs and I was facing the door, which was slightly open to where I could see into the hallway but not the stairs, so I just froze in fear. Once it reached the top, it stopped and I pretended to be asleep but had my eyes slightly open to see if I could see what it was, but then whatever ghost demon was there, it decided I'd be a good idea to start effing swinging on the banister. The noise was so chilling, it finally stopped after 5 minutes but felt like forever. I then had the balls to turn over and stuff my face into my pillow and try to fall asleep. The next morning I walked downstairs and found all the chairs huddled up in the middle of the kitchen. I ended up moving out of the house and haven't experienced anything like that again. My daughter continues to do very spooky things. I'm sure there are rational explanations and usually I figure out what they are, but this one stumped me. The other night she proceeded to read my mind over and over. I picked her up from school. We were walking by this vending machine where I often buy her a chocolate milk, but I didn't have any coins on me. When I looked at it, I thought that in my head, damn, I forgot my change. But she answered out loud, "That's okay." And when I said what she said, "It's okay, you forgot to bring money. I'm not thirsty anyhow." I figured it was just her reading my body language or something. Maybe that time it was. In the car she asked about having a friend over, and before I could answer she said, "Okay, another night when we're not so busy then." I think she answered as I was thinking, not even said yet, "We've got a busy night with blank," and I was listing the things in my head as she interrupted me. Dinner. She came downstairs the second it was ready without me calling her. We watched a movie and I was getting hungry, and as I was thinking of a snack, and she went and got me exactly what I was thinking of, and it's not something I have often either, and she could just get it. That's all I can remember, but there was more. I spent the entire night sure she could read my thoughts. Next morning everything seemed back to normal. I tried to be cynical, and I know there are alternate explanations for this, but they don't seem plausible. The house I grew up in had a concrete basement, fully underground. When tuning the radio, we never got much except a few staticky stations. One afternoon I was bored and chatting with one of my friends and kind of absent-mindedly fiddling with it. Nothing but static like usual. Until all of the sudden it was perfectly clear. There was a voice that sounded otherworldly. It kind of reminded me a late-night host where I grew up in Indiana, called Sammy Terry. But that might just be because he had always frightened me as a kid, though when I look now, I don't know why. Anyway, the voice started out relatively calm. I don't even remember what it said at first. But after about 10 seconds it started screaming for help. Begging, pleading, praying for help. I've never heard anything sound so desperate. Honestly, as I am typing this, my eyes are welling up. We turned off the radio right where it was and went back upstairs. I tried turning it on again without tuning, left it there for days, and nothing came through again. I no longer believe in ghosts or anything like that, but I used to have a lot of weird stuff happen. Shortly after we moved into our new house, I still live here today, my brother found a couple used bullets and shells under the basement stairs. The bullets were pretty destroyed, so he threw them away, but kept the shells. They looked like handgun bullets, maybe 9mm or something. We didn't think much of it, but within a year, we started noticing weird things. One day, we heard scratching at our door. All 3 dogs were inside, and when we opened it up, there was nothing in the yard. Even creepier was the fact that sometimes in the snow we would find dog tracks far too large to be our own dogs in the yard. We thought it might just be imagination, but one day we saw a huge black figure go flying by in the window and look outside, once again to see nothing. We were both pretty spooked. Then, a few years later, we went into the basement, and when we looked away, the head of a doll, not a very creepy doll though, moved slightly to the left. It was a slow and progressively creepier thing because eventually, it was facing my brother and I. We were both across the room, so this was the most terrifying thing that had ever happened to me. We even recorded it, but the camera was pretty garbage and the battery died before it had fully swapped over to us. We both went into the other half of our basement, and when we went back, the doll was in its original position. We were both pretty traumatized, and that wasn't the last of it. The last major thing I remember was when we were in the living room together playing games. It was getting darker, but you could still see shadows from outside every once in a while. The bathroom door was wide open, and my brother and I saw the same thing. At first we thought it was a shadow, but it wasn't transparent. Basically, there was a black figure in the bathroom, and when my brother walked over, it darted away. Even though now I don't believe paranormal stuff, I often question these events and wonder if maybe I should. I was around 13 or so and was laying in bed just thinking about stuff to help me drift off into sleep. Always had an issue with sleep, hence why I try to avoid it. Anyways, I just laid there, and out of the blue, loud music started blaring into the room. It was fucking loud and sounded like a mix of hip-hop and rock. Now usually, I would love to hear some of that, but like this. Nah. I couldn't even tell where it was coming from. It sounded like a fire alarm going off. I lived in an apartment at the time with my family, so I just closed my eyes and hoped for them to rush in. But they didn't. It makes no sense that they didn't hear it since it is a pretty small apartment. I just laid there frozen in fear with my eyes shut, and after what felt like an eternity, it stopped. I still didn't open my eyes, expecting something to be right in front of my face. I just laid there acting like I was asleep until I finally was. I woke up in the morning to talk about it with my parents, and they chalked it up to a bad dream. It is possible, but it was just so vivid and real. Too much continuity. I can hardly even remember the music. I even remember trying to play it with my voice to my parents. To this day, I just assume it was a exploding head syndrome attack or something. Some psychological science-wide experience caused by poor sleep. At least I prefer thinking that. This is a long one, so be ready. Me and 3 of my friends decided to go explore an abandoned hospital on the outskirts of our town. Nothing strange happened at first, but after a good half hour we could hear whispering and random doors closing. Building has been empty since the 40s, by the way. All 4 of us then enter what seemed to be an operating room when all of a sudden the door we came through slammed shut behind us, and the operation table in the center of the room slid very fast along the floor, slamming into the wall. Our one friend, let's call him Matt, left right then and there. Me and the other 2 stayed because we wanted to see more cool things happen. So the 13-year-old geniuses that we decided to go into the basement. This is where it got really effing weird. We wandered around for about a good 20 minutes and nothing seemed to be happening, so we went back the way we came. Except the exit to the basement wasn't there anymore. At first we thought we took a wrong turn, but this basement wasn't very big. We spent a good 2 hours trying to get out of there. And this was before cell phones were a major thing, and none of us owned one. All the while the whispering voices start again, and we start seeing things out of the corner of our eyes everywhere, constantly asking the others, "Did you see that?" We finally find our way out, walk outside, and it's midday, like 1 p.m. We went in there at about 11 p.m. the previous night. So we just shrugged it off, not knowing the time, and started walking towards the one guy's house. 5 minutes into walking, and a cop pulls up beside us and asks if we are blank blank and blank. Our names, by the way, and we said, "Yeah, why?" He responds with, "There is a search party looking for you," and he radios in some stuff, and we're thinking, we are in so much trouble. Here comes the part that no one can explain to this day. About 5 to 6 other cop cars along with our parents and Matt and his parents all show up. Apparently after he left and went home. We were told that we had been missing for an entire day. We went in on a Friday night. We come out and it's Sunday. Matt had obviously gotten worried and told his parents about it when he finds out that none of us are home. So they call the cops and the search party begins. They searched that entire hospital and couldn't find us. We asked if they had checked the basement and they apparently had several times. We saw no one, heard no one while we were down there. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. New videos released daily. Leave a comment below and let us know what Reddit content you would like us to cover next.